this leopard is now stalking something. I don't know what he's stalking. I haven't seen it. He's just suddenly got up. It is our friend Hosana. He's got some bad ticks on the back of his ears. But he just got up and wandered up through here. There are squirrels alarm calling. I thought he'd seen something worth eating. You can see he's still in his hunched posture. His shoulders hunched down. Maybe he's going to go for another angle, or maybe he's decided it's not worthwhile. I don't think he saw anything. I think he probably just heard it. There we go. Sorry, I can't move the vehicle at this stage, everyone. We're sort of perched on a precipice. What you're seeing there is a piece of drone in your picture. Sorry about that. He now looks like he's going to have a snack on some of the tourists that are sitting here, but he's not really. He wouldn't do that. Oh, he's a magnificent fellow, isn't he? Now, where is he going to go is the big question. Monique, you say he looks a bit like he's limping. No, I don't think he's limping at all, Monique. I think he's fine. I don't think he's limping at all. All right, well, let's follow him round. Absolutely. I'm just trying to think if we should go around that way or wait. I think let's go around the other way. We won't follow him. We'll go around and try and pick him up from the other side. Stanley, you say, what's a bonnet? I mentioned it when I made a small bloops at the dam wall. A bonnet, Stanley, is what you'd call a hood. We're going to pop the hood. It's what we call the front of the car. The same way as we call what you would call a trunk, a boot. Okay. A bonnet, of course, could also mean a hat. But none of us are wearing bonnets on our heads this evening. It's this morning, isn't it? It's still this morning. It's going to get a little bit bumpy. There's the leopard going down into his favourite little spot. This is the first time I've ever seen him here in Hosana's haunt. He's stalking something. He's adopted the stalk position. Let's just try and get through here. He's just nipping down into the drainage system here. There's a pond, beautiful pond in here. I'm not sure how strong our signal's going to be. He spotted something. There he is. Okay, I believe we're live, everybody. Here we are. Hosana staying in the same place. Look at the wonderful place he's found himself to sit. I pretended to be him sitting in exactly that position during our TV shows. And I'm so pleased that he and I are of one mind. Now, you were talking about heat stroke earlier with Noel. I find it a really fascinating subject. Remember that as a human being, we are superbly designed to avoid heat stroke in the heat of the African sun, whereas animals like this magnificent fellow in front of us must go and seek the shade in the heat of the day. And it's a really fascinating thing. If you really study human physiology and our design, there is a school of thought that reckons one of the reasons we stand upright on 2 feet is to avoid overheating, basically. It allows us to move around in the middle of the day with a very small proportion of our body exposed to the sun. Because if you stand on all fours, obviously you've got a greater surface area exposed to the sun's rays, whereas on 2 feet, that is not the case. And that's why human beings can run such enormous distances compared with any other animals. We may do it slowly, but there are very, very few animals in the world that can run the distances we do. And I don't mean that of everybody, of course. A lot of us don't run very far at all. Yes, DMC, they scratch for the same reasons that you and I scratch. They scratch when they feel itchy, and having a tick attached to your skin and sucking your blood will inevitably result in things feeling quite itchy, and so that is why he's scratching. There are lots of flies as well, and possibly the various other skin parasites. He seems to be very focused on one area. Hello, fellow. Ooh, what's he heard? DMV, I don't know the answer to that. You say, how long will the ticks last? Basically what happens is that, yes, they will come off. Those ones there are females that are the ones that you can see on him. And when they fill up, when they are full, and I don't know how long that takes, they will drop off. They will basically drop off, lay their eggs and die. And Denise, I'm not sure how... Yeah, too many tick bites will definitely make them sick. Remember that everything out here is doing its level best, basically, to avoid the effects of parasites. There are hundreds of parasites in that animal, in the same way that there are hundreds of parasites in you, that your body is constantly fighting off. Now, if the animal is the lucky leopard man of today, we're sitting very close to Hosana now. He is sitting next to his pond, just listening and thinking, pondering his existence. Madison, I wish I could answer your question. I'm afraid I have absolutely no idea, but I'm fairly sure that somebody in the Twitterverse will. Very good question about whether or not leopards can get heartworm from mosquitoes, and I don't know. I'm really not sure. I think you'll find that although these animals are covered in parasites and have got parasites all over them and inside them, they are perfectly capable of coping with them. So, I mean, were this leopard to have something like heartworm from mosquitoes, I think it would be absolutely fine. It'd be capable of coping with it. It's often when you introduce foreign sort of pathogens to an area that... I'm just asking if these people can see. I think they can see. It's often if you introduce foreign pathogens into an area or an animal into an area that is different that, they will get sick. A classic example from humans would be the introduction of smallpox, for example, or yellow fever to Africa. Smallpox specifically, which wiped out hundreds of thousands, I think. And it was introduced by European settlers who had, by then, I think, developed... I don't think they had a vaccine yet, did they? They certainly had a certain amount of natural immunity to it. And while the Europeans who landed in Africa were smitten by the diseases here, to which the local people had resistance, so the other way was true as well. And it's exactly the same with these animals. And because they don't move out of these areas much, or into different areas, you find they probably cope with disease much better than we do, and also why they don't need the sort of medical care that we do. And you combine that with the fact that they eat what they were designed to eat. They don't have any of the lifestyle diseases that we do, diabetes and neurological disorders and all manner of different kinds of horrible cancers and that sort of thing. most of which I think will eventually be put down to genetics triggered by poor lifestyle. Dale, you said they get the same diseases as we do from ticks. Well, they get, I guess, something, certainly, it would be the same, what is it? It's not a virus, it's the same bacterium, the same, it's not even a bacterium, it's something else. Same parasite would be, put into the bloodstream by the ticks, but they'll just have a better immunity to it. But essentially, yes, it is the same thing. It's rickettsia or various different versions thereof. And in animals we call it biliary, for example. Horses and domestic dogs and cats can get biliary, which can kill them from ticks. But you'll struggle to find a wild animal like this which would get biliary. He is now fast asleep and does not look like he's going anywhere for some time. There we go. Thank you, Lily. You say, you say animals can get heartworm from mosquitoes, but much more likely in areas where they're in close proximity with human beings, so in zoos, for example. Thank you very much for that. I'm afraid I know absolutely nothing about heartworm whatsoever. I'll have to try and go and find out about it. Hello, Carol. You're in Florida. You're a new viewer, or a newish viewer, and you say, is this the leopard with the baby? There are two reasons why this leopard can't have a baby. The first is that he's male. And so he couldn't, well, I suppose he could have produced a baby, which brings me to the second part of why he doesn't have a baby yet. He's only 2. And while I suppose technically it might almost be possible for him to father a child, he's much too young to be able to dominate any sort of mating opportunity in this area just yet. So, Carol, you're talking about Thandi, who is a female leopard. And she, if you saw them next to each other, Carol, you'd very easily recognize the female versus the male. The male is much bigger. Even at 2 years old, he's bigger than an adult female. And Thandi is, in fact, his sister. She's much older than he is, but she is his sister nevertheless. Their mother was the same, their father different. See how beautifully hidden he is there in the dappled shade, where he shall remain, I suspect, for most of the rest of the day. Ooh! Now, Scarlett, you are asking a question. You say, is Hosana my favourite leopard? Well, before I answer that, Scarlett, before when was it? Before I went to the Masai Mara, my favourite leopard was Shongile. And Shongile was Hosana's sister, and she was my favourite because we had some wonderful experiences with her on foot. And so I suppose I should be transferring my affections to Hosana, but while I do enjoy him very much, I'm going to call Tamba my favourite leopard at the moment. So Tamba is a 20-month-old male, and I like him. I don't know why I like him because of this, but I like him because he has such a very serious face. He takes life extremely seriously. One gets the impression that Hosana takes his life in a much more frivolous fashion. He often goes seeking company. Now, this is not to say I don't like him at all. I really do enjoy him very, very much. Alrighty, I believe that there is a lot of jealousy from the Mara on the number of leopard sightings we've had of late. Let's head across to Jamie and find out if she perhaps has a favourite leopard over there.